either we talk about Philly now or we have to put it on
Let's
pause.
talk about Philly. Let's talk about
Philly.
I think we need to add.
I'm open.
I'm
open.
Welcome to the I'm Open podcast with Sam, Ryan, Joe, and Andrew. There was a lot of shit this weekend, and we have to talk about everything. But before we start, I wanted to address there were some accusations on Twitter that we don't know ball by I believe Thomas Nye of the Philadelphia Phoenix, and I just want to say that is true.
Yes,
that is 100% true.
Which I think was noted. I think it was confirmed on Twitter, and it wasn't.
We do.
It's not the insult that you think it is.
We do try to give the disclaimer that we're talking about every episode. Because keeps switching. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but it was also noted on Twitter, that's our appeal. We don't come here and claim that we're experts.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it. That's the only reason that people the only credibility we have is that we care, and I think that's what really matters.
Yeah, we don't know shit. We don't know shit. We have a Zoom account and USB microphones and brains. That's it.
Barely.
Full disclosure. Yeah. We don't want to pretend that we're anything that we're not.
But with that said, you should all agree with all the things we say.
That said,
we're smart.
That said,
and everything we say is real.
I also want to say, were we wrong for having Philly in C tier before that win?
Oh man, you're getting right into it, man.
Let's save it.
I have a whole Philly take that I'm ready to go on a rant about, but let's save that for
There's a lot of takes I have after this week.
All right,
but
yeah,
let's talk about something more definite first.
Yeah. Let me.
There is
a
league
on the screen.
There's a league where we know who the best team is. We don't have to sit here and act like we think we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although I will say, our tier list was right. The Falcons finished third. Yeah. Seattle beat the Super Bloom in the final. So maybe we do know stuff. Okay.
We know things. Look at us.
I think sometimes we know. Sometimes we know some things.
I want to go back to the off-season tier list we made with Kayak and Obs and see how accurate we were.
Yeah. Oh, Lord almighty. How would I even find that? All right. This will take 30 seconds.
All right. Look at our STF.
Okay. We did the Falcons dirty.
Yeah, we really did. Yeah.
But we took branding into account, if I recall correctly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did.
So with that in mind, we did okay.
This was also Aubrey and Kira's like that. This was their tier list,
Exactly.
Hey, stand behind it, Alu.
All right. Yeah, it was our tier list.
Wow, look at all of our backgrounds. I mean, mine's the exact same, but your guys' are all different. What a different time.
What a time. Oh yeah.
Bunker Sam. Damn, back when Alu had the best background.
Yeah, my background's lacking now. I need to get more art up.
I think by default I have the best background just because you guys haven't totally set up your backgrounds yet.
I got a whole bookshelf here with plants on it, dude.
Joe's is looking good.
All right. Whoa. I got the rough side now. I got the rough side.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah,
you know what I didn't even put up? Oh my god. This beautiful disc I got from the Oakland Spiders. I love this thing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna put this up for the pod, but it's too late now.
Another Spiders merch plug. in consecutive weeks. Look at us go.
I got more spiders plugs coming later, but not for the merch.
Ooh. I got some
All right.
spider takes. I got some spider takes.
I got positive and negative spiders takes. So
That's fair.
You
That
know,
was that was the whole game.
equal parts.
Anyone have thoughts about the championship weekend? I didn't get to watch any of it because I was at a tournament of my own. But if anyone has any thoughts before we move on, please say them.
I tuned into the finals. I was bummed that, obviously I guess we're a Super Bloom pod. I was rooting for the Super Bloom. Yeah, it just kind of felt like it was a windy game, and there were some turns, and Seattle punched in some breaks, and then it felt close the whole game, but it also was like Seattle was up by like a couple kind of the whole time, and it was exciting. There were some sick plays. Kayla Helton had this one play where it was like she towed the line. I don't think they scored off of it, but I'll try to pull it up and show you guys. But I don't know how she made this catch and stayed in bounds. It was like one of the most insane catches I've ever seen. And Dina Ellie Melick just like feasted.
Oh
for
my
Super
God.
Bloom. She had an insane game. Like probably one of the craziest games in a losing effort.
Some of her blocks during that game were just like
Yeah,
full extension. Like I had no perception that it was a disc that even could get blocked by Dina, and she was just there every time.
Yeah.
She was skying people left and right. She was, I mean, yeah, like as a team, the Tempest, obviously the better team, and they were up by a lot, and then Super Bowl made a nice comeback. But if we're talking individuals out there, like Dina had such a great game.
I think maybe that was the difference in the teams, really, is that like the Tempest, I'm kind of like, they have the star names, but just like when you're watching the team, you're not like, oh, this one player has to carry them. They just like are a unit, like a very efficient, like,
yeah. Oh no, a great efficient team.
Yeah, and like that's just kind of that's what plays, and yeah, they were the better team. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Kayla for winning the MVP.
Yeah.
Also rookie year for the Helton family. So congrats.
Hell yeah. As I mentioned, we have I think there were 13 games. It felt like a lot. I think I saw the number 13 somewhere. But anyway, I figured because there's so many fucking games that this week we would talk about the big ones before we get into the tier list to make sure we get all our ducks in a row on those games. But first, Joe, you want to do stat time?
Oh, Joe's little stat corner. All right. Well, because we're at about halfway through the season, most teams have played 6 games. Some played 7, some played 5. A few have played 4. I thought it would be an appropriate time to talk about some players and highlight, what they've done this season. Maybe get people starting to think about that MVP race, or just like highlight some players who I think should be talked about. And first and foremost, what I want to do first is people keep saying Babbitt is the leader in the MVP race, and I think he's got a great claim to it. I do not think that he is the front runner for MVP, or at least in my mind, he is not the front runner, because Jordan Kerr is the front runner for me. Kerr has 21 assists, 20 goals, 13 hockey assists, 5 blocks. So 41 scores, 54 if you include hockey assists. And Babbitt has 1 assist, 25 goals, 7 hockey assists, and 11 blocks. So, leading it in goals and 11 blocks is insane. But for me, Jordan Kerr having 21 assists and 20 goals, also throwing 94%. Babbitt, though, throwing 97%, but on 100 yards total instead of 2,500 yards total. But I don't know. I think the kicker is that Kerr and the Salt Lake Shred have been wild efficient. Kerr's offensive efficiency is like 62% compared to Babbitt on the fucking Empire is like, I mean, not terrible. Like it's like 57%. But like Kerr all around, I think has been the better player. He's not throwing as many assists as he was last year. He's scoring way more goals, and he still is just like, I don't know, probably like 8th or 9th in assists this year, something like that. He's got 21 and 20. That's just great. I think last year he had like 90 assists and like 30 goals, I want to say. So it seems like he's going to pass the goals mark for sure. After that, I want to talk about Swiatek, who's got 19 assists, 25 goals, 18 hockey assists, and 3,300 yards. He's played 7 games compared to some other people, but he's just like having a monster year. And like I was looking at players last week when he had played 6, and other people had played 5, and I was like, he's pretty good, but he's not like that far ahead. And like after last week, he really has put himself in a place where I feel like he's certainly worth noting, even though he's played more games. I feel like I really want to talk about Oscar. He's only played 67 points so far because he was out, and the Empire have had a game cut short. They've had 2 rain games. And so he's only played 67 points, and he still has 20 assists and 10 goals. And he's like, I don't know. I was looking at like per points and per games played stats, and he was like top 5 in scoring. If you looked at the per points played, I think is a pretty funny way to keep it. But if we're actually looking at per points played, you know, who leads the league in scoring, I think it's Nethercutt, because he's only played 76 points. He's got 28 assists. That's fucking crazy. But he also has like 13 turnovers. But I think you probably take that. I wanted to shout out Khalif because while Seattle is garbage, he is 4th in the league in assists. And I know we talked a lot about if he would play, what kind of impact he would have. And he's got 6 blocks. He's thrown 94%, and he's got 23 assists. Also tied for the league lead in hockey assists as well. And yeah, I want to talk about Sean Cannell, I think is how his name is said. There's just like a bunch of players on the Shred who like need to be shout out, but he is 2nd in the league in yards with like 3,400, and he's got 20 assists. And then I also want to shout out every single player on the Spiders because they all have so many good fucking stats. Hecht has 27 assists and 5 goals. Keenan Lawrence has 14 and 24. Lung has 22 and 10. Walker Frankenberg has 10 and 22. Evan Magsig has 14, 8, and 21 hockey assists.
Whoa.
Doesn't seem right to me, but it might be. It is in my notes, and they're all throwing between 91 and 96%. I think Mac Hecht has to be talked about in the MVP race also because he's leading the league with 3,899 yards to go on top of his 27 assists, which I think is only 1 behind Nethercutt, although Nethercutt has not played as many games or as many points. So anyway, yeah, right now, my MVP race got to be between Kerr, Babbitt, Swiatek, Oscar, if he does continue playing at his pace and he plays for the rest of the games, and probably Mac Hecht. But anyway, I want to shout out all of those players.
I have a contribution to stat time just because I was looking at the numbers today while I was catching up on some of the games, and I was shocked to see that Rowan McDonald's has a 1± this season.
It's the D-line, man.
Yeah,
I know, but still, like, it's insane. It's not that he's like producing; he's just also turning it over a ton, which is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna get the same number of turnovers as he does for a normal season. but just without the usage, and he doesn't get enough blocks to make up for it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's up with that. Because like being on D line doesn't inherently mean he's gonna turn it over more. He's just like doing that.
Right? He's got worse receivers.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like truly believe that that's the reason, but that could be an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, good segue into Flyers Breeze talk, as well as Flyers Phoenix. Since Carolina went on that road trip and went a surprising 1-1 by beating the Breeze and then losing to Philly. So let us get into that. Thoughts on Flyers Breeze?
Joe, you were at the game. Or go
Yeah,
ahead, Ryan.
I was, but I just talked a lot, so I was going to let other people talk.
Yeah, that was a crazy great game. It's if you take away the Philly game, like I think that really cements like the Flyers and the Breeze. Like, man, they're up there in that A tier, like right behind the Empire. And especially like how we saw the Flyers play in the first few weeks when we all knew they didn't really have their full squad, but it seems like now they do. I think they're really up there, but I don't know how we're not going to talk about Philly. I feel like after this we go straight to that game, but yeah, that's my thoughts. I mean, the Flyers are good, man, and so are the Breeze.
They're both good. To me, I noticed this in like earlier in the season with the Breeze, and I think this is still kind of affecting them. And like Sam, you said, like Ronald McDonald's throwing some more like turnovers. It just seems like they've thrown some funky turnovers that I wouldn't expect them to throw. And I think maybe like I don't really know what the reason is, but just watching that game, Carolina's defense looked really good. You know, like it looked like the Cutters were kind of getting frustrated. They couldn't really like get in the flow that they wanted. It felt like they're really underusing Boxley. Like it seemed like he was the cutter that was getting open the most, but he like wasn't like he should have been touching it like if not every other, like should have felt like he was getting it a lot more. And I just feel like they just weren't finding him as much. So I don't know. It just kind of felt like their offense wasn't gelling as well as Carolina was, and Carolina's D was looking good. And it almost makes me wonder, like, does DC need like Rowan back on the O line? Like,
I
they're
mean,
probably not.
yeah,
Probably not going to do that, but I feel like that would help a lot. You know, he's kind of the missing piece. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that for a couple weeks now. I don't know if that's the answer or if that would make things worse, but their offense does not look as good. It looks like it can compete, and it looks like one of the better offenses. And against a not super, I don't know, good or intelligent defense, it can run. But I don't know. Against the Empire, against Philly, against Carolina, a lot of turnovers that I'm sure they did not want.
Yeah. I honestly wonder, like, back to their defense, if they should consider going back to like not trusting their defense at all and just calling the timeout every time. Because
yeah,
I feel like they're not making good use of their turns, and I don't know. It seems kind of like discombobulated. Like I feel like as I was watching their D line offense, like AJ Merriman was really quiet on it for some reason, and that surprised me since he's like a very talented offensive player. I don't know why they don't like at least run more of a dominator thing with like the guys on the D line who are really good at offense, like Rowan and AJ.
Yeah, and then the flip side of it is that like Carolina, there were a couple turns on their like they weren't immune to turning it over, but like they just felt like a lot more consistent on O, like a lot of credit to them and Joe White, like this whole weekend.
Oh my god. Yeah.
He had a crazy weekend. I think we really like kind of glossed over him as an addition because I think Chicago had a ton of like star names, and then him leaving maybe got overshadowed
also,
by Pavel leaving.
I feel like we talked about him a bunch when we were talking about additions.
Well, it was very unclear where he was going because it was like not released that he was joining Carolina until Carolina released their roster. So it was like, did Joe White retire? He's not on Chicago anymore.
Like we talked about it, but I don't think when we were like talking about pregame stuff, we weren't like, like we were like, oh, the Aviators are going to be great because of this and that. And then with Carolina, we were kind of like, I don't know, they're already really good and he's pretty good. So I don't know, but like I don't think we predicted that like how important to the team he would have been. You know, he was running the show almost.
It's just like he's so good. It's impossible to stop him from breaking the mark. I don't know. Yeah, the Breeze's defense looked pretty fine. Like they couldn't stop Joe White, and honestly, they couldn't really stop Durs either.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I thought it looked fine. They got D's that they needed to. The offense just like made so many questionable decisions. Also, I do want to shout out Alex Davis, who covered Boxley for a lot of the game. And like, I do think Boxley was underutilized, but I also think that Davis did a really good job covering him.
And you could see that better because you were actually there. Like, from my view on the stream, I'm not really seeing the movement downfield as much.
No, exactly.
That's a good point. That is a good point. It's interesting that they have AD back on the D line now too, because they kind of gave him his shot on last year, and then I guess he's kind of back to the D line with like.
I guess he was just like second in the league in goals last year, and now he's back on. He played. I think he played also, but he guarded Boxley during it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just such a deep team.
I know.
They didn't win all their games this weekend, so
yeah. What the fuck happened in Philadelphia?
I don't know, man.
That shit was crazy.
Are we ready just to switch to that game? Because
I want to say that the craziest part of the Breeze game was that the Breeze hype person was like, it's a scorcher out, and like had like water guns and water balloons and was throwing it. It was like very warm at the start of the game, and at halftime was like throwing the water balloons into the crowd, and like, you know, some people were like, please stop, don't throw water balloons at me, but a lot of the kids were like, yeah, throw me one. And then the last one that he threw, liner right to the middle of the stands, straight into the media tent or the media overlook, and just absolutely splashed Lepler's laptop.
Oh,
and
God.
He did not seem too happy about it.
Could I just say, like, I don't know how big the stands are, but that sounds like this guy's got a cannon.
I mean, it was a line drive shot right in there. Not the biggest stands, but you know, it was if he was aiming for it, I would say that's a very accurate throw.
On one hand, I'm like, wow, like how do you fuck that up that bad? Like that's it's almost remarkable how big of a fuck up that is.
Yeah.
It's like just don't throw the water balloon on the broadcaster's laptop. Like, can you just do that? And then on the other hand, I really feel for that guy because like the second it happened, I'm sure it was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like you just want to crawl into a dark hole and never come out. Like
yeah.
So
fuck.
feel for that dude, but damn. Like come on, man.
Yeah, anyway, we can get to Philly versus
Philly,
Flyers.
Carolina.
Okay. Who watched this game?
Yeah. I did. I actually watched this one live.
Same.
What you guys got on this? I watched bits and bobs of the replay.
Yeah, I would just say that Philly's defense, like they've looked good pretty much all year, except for the times that they looked horrible. But their defense looked really good. Obviously against Flyers on a back-to-back, I guess, but still. And it seemed like Carolina was taking a lot of hucks they didn't like and like not connecting on them. And I also wonder if there's like a little bit of that northeast wind there that Carolina just wasn't ready for, and Philly kind of forced them to try to throw in. But yeah, it was really impressive. And you know, they didn't have the lead all game, which was
Yeah.
like they showed a lot of resilience as Carolina tried to make comebacks, and then they eventually, took that fourth quarter lead and held on to it. I was pretty impressed with how they finished the game.
Yeah, it was tied at half, and I think Carolina was up 1 at the end of the third quarter. Yeah, I think Trifolis had like 4 blocks in the game. And yeah, I agree. I think their defense looked good. They got a lot of turns, like when Carolina, especially in that fourth quarter, when Carolina was like starting to be like, okay, we need scores here. Let's just like safe throws, handler movement, like get the disc. Philly would still get turns. And, because Carolina was trying to be more careful, they maybe hadn't gained as many yards yet. And so that turned into pretty easy Philly scores from like, just they don't have to go the full distance of the field after the turn. And yeah, I don't know. Philadelphia, they looked pretty good. I mean, Pollard finally did not lead the team in assists. He fucking roofed a guy in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And like I was just like, why does Philadelphia not do that more? Just like throw it up. And Pollard is almost definitely going to come down with it. So it felt like the right mix of everything, and Philadelphia playing well. And yeah, I don't want to be like Carolina on a back-to-back, in a stadium they've never been to before. So, they were unprepared. Like Philadelphia won that game. We can say what we want about how they deserve to be in the tiers, but I want to give Philadelphia credit for winning that game. If Carolina had won, we would have been like, yeah, of course. We wouldn't have been like, well, they were unprepared, but they came through. So like, I want to give credit to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like we'll talk tiers later, but like when we have a limited number of games and like, when we're just trying to figure out, okay, what gives this team the edge over this other team, we have to kind of take things into account. Like, okay, maybe you won, but like, what kind of win was it? And I think like their win against Pittsburgh, like left a bad taste in my mouth, even though it was still a win. Like to me, this is exactly like what I'm looking for. And like a really solid win. Like you guys said, they were down in the third quarter. They didn't give up. Like, to me that's like a really solid win. I don't know what we're gonna do with them, but like that's exactly what I haven't really been seeing from them yet this season. And it's really cool to see it like come together because they are a good team and they deserve to be in the mix, and I think the league's more interesting when they are. So like I'm glad that happened. And yeah, props to them. Great win. It makes our jobs harder now because we have to decide what to put them.
I don't know what the fuck to do, but
yeah,
a good win, a very good win.
Yeah. Two last thoughts on that game. Philly low-key has a shot at being second in the East if they beat DC. And also I really liked Joe White's earring. Wanted to mention that. Thought it looked good.
How about the tag that's still on his jersey?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about his tag?
I don't really support that. I think that's stupid.
I don't think he loved our tweet from this weekend.
No,
but
he
it did get more likes than I've ever gotten on a tweet before.
Yeah, we tweeted a picture of him peeing with a caption making it clear that he was peeing, and he didn't seem to like it. But anyway, on to Joe White's old team against the Wind Chill. We had another Union Wind Chill matchup, and this time the Wind Chill held on.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this game. I'm surprised that the final score was as close as it was because it felt like Wind Chill pulled away a lot. And then I guess the Union they won the fourth quarter basically. So that's kind of cool for them.
There were like 3 or maybe even 4 like nothing goals at the end of the game. And I think Union like had a buzzer beater to make it a 2 instead of a 3-point win. But there were definitely like a few last 2 minutes or like even last minute goals that didn't matter.
Yeah, from what I saw in the beginning, it was just like Winchell was just getting D's. Like I think Chicago wasn't pressing quite enough, and they put up a couple hucks that weren't great, and Minnesota was like kind of hungry on D. Like they were getting some blocks, and they just looked a little like obviously you can see the completion percentage there. Like that's kind of how it felt. Just like that matches the eye test for me. Like Winchell looked really solid, like on O, and they weren't taking as many risks as Chicago, and I think it just kind of worked out for them. But I don't know. I didn't watch like the whole thing that closely, but that's just kind of how I felt from the parts that I did watch.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts. I didn't watch the full game, but I watched most of it. And I felt like the defense looked good. Their zone was nice. And like it definitely forced the Union to throw a bunch of throws that they probably wouldn't have wanted to make in the first place. But I also think that like some of those throws probably weren't super necessary, and a lot of them weren't like hammers. They weren't like Blady. They were just like deep throws that the throw themselves was just too lofty, and it's just not what they like. Obviously, Minnesota forced that, but like a lot of their D's, and this is not to take away because they got a lot of great D's also, but a lot of their D's, like especially in zone, was a Union throw where if the throw had just been like not as lofty, the Union player would have been wide open deep. But it lofted, and Minnesota won like every single jump ball. So like that is also big props to the wind chill for being able to come down with the disc every time and not foul. And so like I do think that Minnesota's defense looked pretty good. I do wonder if like I don't know if it's going to be replicable all season to just like hope for jump balls. But they also had lots of great defense aside from that. But that was just something I noticed during, I don't know, maybe half of their turns came from that, and a lot of their zone turns came from that too.
Yeah, I think this game, if anything, just cemented that there's kind of a clump at the top of the Central, and like it's going to be pretty close with regard to who comes out on top. Anyway,
the last thing I will say is like I have a lot of hope for Chicago to like be able to make adjustments because like their talent is still like they have some of the best players in the league on that team, and they don't need to try to like put up a huck. Like they can work their system, and I they lost this game, but I could have it as a toss up like in the next one, like or I assume they play again, or if they meet in the playoffs again or whatever.
They must.
It might be. But I have faith in them to like be able to like make the right adjustments. But
yeah, I mean, and Union won last week. One team played better last week. One team played better this week. I think they're both just good teams.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Then moving west, the Spiders went on that daunting Salt Lake Denver trip, and they lost by 4 and 5, but they were in both games. Going to halftime, weren't they tied with Colorado, and then were they leading Salt Lake? I don't remember.
They led Salt Lake at some point of the game.
Yeah, they did. I think maybe even in the third. I might be.
Yeah, it looks like they were up 2.5.
Yeah,
good for them.
They were up in the third quarter.
Yeah,
I think the Shred just have like they can just throw bodies at you. Like they might not be the most. They're not that they're not deep talent wise, but they're really deep just like athlete wise, and they can just like run a crazy D line and like get a break. That's kind of been their MO in their past 2 years of existence, but that's kind of what happened. They just kind of just had a crazy rush. Maybe like the Oakland O line was getting a little tired in the third quarter, and they just kind of threw like a pretty spicy D line out there, and like then they just they got like the breaks they needed and then didn't look back. So,
yeah, I mean, I think the Shred just like are better, and like if you look at I don't know who started with the disc, but if the Spiders started with the disc and then got one break, that could be what happened during that first half. And like,
I think the Shred received and got broken on the first point.
ooh, so the Spiders got okay. I guess they could have broken in the first. I don't know if they. I watched the game, but I didn't follow that closely to remember when breaks happened. But like, I think the Spiders have a good offense, and their defense is not that good. I think it's super mediocre. I think, they can put up 7 and 5 in the first half, and they just like need to do that again to have a chance in the second half. While as the Shred have a good offense and have a good defense, and as you said, are very athletic and deep, and they don't get as tired, and they don't need to rely on just their offense being perfect. Like, they can just play. They went 6-4, 6-5 in the first half and the second half. They can just continue to play their game because the turns are going to happen. Oakland's not going to have 0 turns for the game. But Oakland's not going to start to get more breaks in the second half. Their defense isn't going to get better.
Yeah. The main number that I took away from this game was I remembered that first point break specifically because I was looking at the D-line conversion percentage of the Spiders.
Yeah.
So like that first break was
it was only 2 breaks.
Yeah, that first break was like super short field. So outside of that, they were 1 for 11, which is like insane. And I mean, that doesn't tell us anything we didn't already know. Like the Shred have been like, they're going to turn it over and then they're going to be better than you and get it back. But that number was kind of mind boggling.
To move over to the Summit game, one, if we can kind of like compare a couple numbers, but to quickly toot my own horn, we went to the game. It was me, fellow correspondent Carp, and his parents were there, and they don't really know anything about the AUDL. And his dad, like before the game, like put a fake mic in front of me and was like, "All right, Ryan, what do you think is going to happen in this game?" And like off the spot, I was like, I think it's going to be like a close game going into the third quarter. And then I think the Summit are going to slowly pull away and then establish dominance. And like going into halftime, if you look at it, I think it was tied. What is that? Tied? Tied going to halftime, third quarter, like halfway through, Summit starts pulling it away. And like Carp's dad looks at me and he's like, "Damn, you really know your stuff." And I was like, I mean, this game, watching it, I will say this, like, this cemented to me that the Summit are a fucking championship contender this year. Look at that O-line conversion. And you know who they're missing? Jonathan Nethercutt. They were 76%. So the difference between the Spiders and the Summit in this game is that the Summit were just walking it down the field and scoring at a 76% rate, while the Spiders needed to huck it every single time to score. And the first half, I like that huck percentage of 14 to 22. I swear they were 100% in the first half, and all of those misses came in the second. Like, there was bad calls on the refs that were giving Spiders like advantages in the first half. Like literally everything went the Spiders' way in the first half, and that's why it was tied. And then all of that karma, all of the 50-50, that just went back towards even split in the second half, and that's where the Summit, took that 5-point lead in the third and fourth quarter.
That fourth quarter Summit was scary.
Yeah,
that was a scary team.
Fourth quarter Summit, when you like don't need your O-line because D-line is just getting out there and just making plays. I mean, we all saw that Tatum catch that he had. I don't want to butcher his name, but Samin, I think that's his name. He was a monster on D-line, like just winning every 50-50 ball. We posted on our story today. There's one play that Matty Jackson straight up just throws it to like triple coverage, and Quinn Finer just comes down with it. Like, when they need to play bad Frisbee, they fucking ball. Like, very excited about the Summit team. Also, no Nethercut. Like they did all this without the
Yeah,
guy who's like killing it.
absolutely shout out to Quinn Finer for stepping up without Nethercut there. Finer had 800 yards in this game. He was
Jesus.
it wasn't even just that he was throwing it to take over. He was throwing. He had like 250 more throwing yards than he has before this season, but he was also still a dominant receiver. He had like, I want to say 6 assists and 3 goals, maybe. With like 800 yards and like not that many turns, maybe 1 or 2.
Summerin is the guy I was
4,
thinking.
6 and 4. Like he had such a dominant game. 1 turnover. Like, yeah, he looked so good.
How many blocks did Summerin have?
Good job, Quinn. I want to say Summerin's leading the league. I was looking at it today. He had 5.
5 blocks. That's insane.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
What's the single game record? Like, it's not that, but like that's a lot.
I can look
That's
that
a
up.
good question. Yeah. Anyway, keep talking.
That. I also want to look at that stat. Oh, you're pulling it up. The stat in that game, it talks about break percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says Oakland is 4 for 23 and Colorado only turned it over 10 times. So I don't think that's right. They did not give the Spiders 23 chances at a break. So I'm pretty confused.
Oh no, break percentage is
how many
just like per D point. So like 23 D, so it matches up with hold percentage, and then conversion like chances.
Oh, that's just breaks for how many times you were on the field.
Yeah.
So D-line conversion is that means there were 6 times that the O-line turned it over.
And honestly, that's solid conversion for the Spiders. That's probably what they need to do in these games. But yeah, it wasn't enough this time.
I mean, yeah, it's a good rate, but it's also only 6 attempts. Like when your O-line's only turning it over 6 times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if the Spiders do want to come through in these games, they're only probably going to get something like 6, so they got to punch those in.
And also, Joe, you said this earlier with like MVP. Like I gotta shout out Mac Hecht. Like I'm on the sideline. Like I wanted the Summit to win, but like just as a fan, dude, that guy changes the field. There's like, as someone who like when I play frisbee, I'm a thrower. Like I see space, I think, in a different way than normal people. But Mac Hecht sees space, but can also hit the space. Like I can't throw 70-yard ropes that then just float and let my players like go catch on it. Like it was crazy to watch. But I don't think that's like how you're gonna beat the best teams in the league, is to rely on really good throwers. And I think that's why they couldn't end up with the win. So.
I mean, it sucks because I think they have an offense that could compete at a high level. And if they just had a defense that could get like 5 to 6 more turnovers per game against good teams, like they would be a pretty scary team. And honestly, I like them. I think they are pretty good. But yeah, I think they've got some defensive issues they got to figure out.
Oh, and Calvin Stun, like that guy is crazy fast. I think this was his first game of the year this year. Might be his first game ever. He had a couple jitters where I think he had a drop or a throwaway or something. But dude, once him and Nethercut get on the same page, like you can't outthrow that guy. Like he was insanely fast.
Yeah, so he had the highlight in his Callahan video of just like the person he was guarding beat him deep, and then he just ran faster than him, and then just like it's crazy.
Yeah. Or the teaser where Rowan's like 9 out of 10 times, like I get this disc, but Calvin got it.
Yeah. All right, we've talked about this game a lot. Oh, okay. We're on to Aviators game.
I just moved over to Aviators. Wanted to shout out Everest for playing in the AUDL as always. But also shout out the Aviators for pulling out a tough one. I think as we shift into tiers, I think the Growlers are a lot better than we have them. So this was a solid win.
I think they're just better than they've been playing to start the season, but also they're like incredibly reliant on Dunn right now. He's averaging like 9 scores per game. And like that's amazing. But if he doesn't play, he gets injured, if he gets shut down by a really good defender, what does that do for the team?
Yeah, they are by no means deep.
This was a must. Like, if the Aviators didn't win this game, it's time to, like, I don't know, as the cliche sports people would say, like, sound the alarm or whatever that means. But like it would be rough for their season if they had dropped this one.
Yeah.
Like I would feel very low on them if they had lost this. And they almost did, but they played themselves into a win, which is again like that's what you want to see. That's a good sign. So, credit to them. It was pretty crazy finish. They scraped it out, right? Like,
yeah, there were some hype ass fourth quarters in the week.
Yeah, this was one of them for sure.
And McDougal, oh my God, what a game! Revenge game for him too.
Should we pull up the numbers? 6 assists, 2 goals, 3 blocks.
Sheesh.
400 yards. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
What did Everest do in this game?
I wanted to shout out Lucas Ambrose because he got 4 blocks in this game. He was the one who got that crazy block against Quinn Finer too. He is kind of nuts. And I think he was guarding Dunn. So tough assignment. Everest Alert got 1 assist, 3 goals.
Hey.
And 2 hockey assists and a turn.
That's not too bad.
His turn, I didn't think his turn was really his fault. It was kind of miscommunication.
Yeah.
He was just trying to dump it off, but
he made a nice catch before that too, which sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, good job, Evers. Also, one of his goals he didn't even come down with because it got stripped, but it was like pretty close. But I do think it was stripped. But anyway.
Me too.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to tiers. Let's go to tier talk. Let's tier talk.
It's time.
Yeah.
I vote we go top to bottom because subsequently I vote we expand the A tier significantly.
Oh.
I think
okay.
There's so much muddling going on in our A tier with, Breeze beating Flyers, Flyers beating Breeze. Hustle beating Flyers, Flyers beating Hustle.
Yeah.
The West teams haven't played yet, but I think that the Shred and the Flyers both belong in the A grouping.
I agree.
Yeah. Also, yeah, because like if we're talking about tier listing, like I feel like those teams belong, in the same bucket, whereas Seoul, the Central teams, maybe the Spiders kind of belong in a separate bucket where it's like they're pretty good too, but they're not in this bucket.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm not certain on ordering, but I'm glad you guys agree.
Let's put them up for now. And I'll say when I see this, I think Flyers are above Hustle. I think just their most recent win, like that's the more of like what I like when I think of I think the first game that the Flyers dropped the Hustle, I don't think the Flyers were full strength. And I think right now, I think they are. I also think the Summit are better than the Breeze, and I think we might be able to put them above the Breeze. I'm just gonna say it. I think we might.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I agree. They have 2 losses. Yeah, it might be to an S tier and an A tier, but
yeah.
We're dropping the Breeze. We're dropping the Breeze. The Summit have looked good. The question is, where do the Breeze go now?
Yeah,
because they just lost to Carolina.
I think we saw the Breeze beat a different Carolina, and I think we just saw what Carolina's going to look like for the rest of the year. So, Carolina won. I would put them ahead.
But then Carolina lost to Philly.
Okay. So I have
that's fair.
Philly take, and either we talk about Philly now or we have to put it on.
Let's talk about Philly.
Let's talk about Philly.
I think we need to add we need to have 2 Phillies. I think we need to add another Philly and have one Philly team at like the bottom of A and one Philly team at like the bottom of C.
Philly
kind
against
of the
good teams,
only-
Philly against bad teams.
Exactly.
That's like the only solution that fully makes sense to me because they lost to the Glory. And they, like
Pittsburgh by 1.
they beat Pittsburgh by
And
1.
Pittsburgh looked Duke.
Yeah.
They looked bad against the Rascals this week. I watched that whole game. Oh, they looked bad.
It's like, so like I think the Spiders are in B tier. I think the Glory are the top of C above those.
That's getting way too ahead of ourselves.
I'm just like trying to like where does Philly sit with
Yeah.
all those C teams? And I think there has to be 2 Philly teams.
I'm not opposed to it. Philly A and Philly B.
There's an A tier. There's an A tier Philly that takes the Empire to overtime and loses to the Breeze by 1 and beats
the
Carolina. And then there's the Philly that plays Pittsburgh and loses to the Glory. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Nah, I guess I like the idea.
they looked like such a different team in that Pittsburgh game, even though that was a win. Like, they looked like such a different team. They looked great against Carolina, and then, but the thing is, it's hard to know. They're like they look like almost a different team, and there's a version of them that, like that team when they're clicking on all cylinders, probably beats Boston, but they literally played Boston and lost to them. So it's just like, what do we do?
I know.
You know?
Hold on. Give me a moment.
Yeah, you were showing the fans how the sausage gets made, Sam. You can't do that.
I know. I'm trying to get a inverted Philly in here. But you can keep talking. All right. Anyway, I was kind of zoned out, but while I was doing this, but is this where we have Philly and Nega Philly?
Yeah.
You should give it a different name.
Sure. Philly and Blue Philly.
Bad
Cold
Philly. Yeah.
Cold Bird.
Cold Birds.
Hot birds and cold birds. There you go. Easy.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess I'm okay with Philly bottom A. Do we give like the Hustle the nod over the Breeze, or do we keep Breeze where they are?
Hustle, they have 1 loss.
Yes.
Just Carolina.
To Carolina.
Do the Hustle Breeze play each other?
I think so.
No, Hustle Empire
They
play.
Yeah, they play this
Interesting.
coming week.
Yeah. But no, they don't play Breeze.
My gut says Breeze is over Hustle for now.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see how the Hustle Empire game looks and see if we want to make a judgment based on that. But
And we like
I
Shred
also-
over Philly.
over good
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah. I will say that like we had Breeze over Hustle already, and the Breeze just lost by 1 to Carolina, and the Hustle beat like the Havoc. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's enough to put them over.
Okay.
Shred's
All
been
right.
looking really good. I mean,
Shred, I think we got to talk about the Shred maybe getting bumped up more.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
think we need to see how they play against the Summit next week, and then we can talk about moving them up more.
But what have the Summit done to deserve the second place spot in A tier? I totally deserve it. I'm not trying to claim anything negative about the Summit. What have they done that the Summit haven't done that the Summit deserve to be so far down in the A tier?
Well, I think it starts with like just last year being our strongest thing to go off of. Like they started higher.
Sure.
And like haven't lost. But to be fair, like they shouldn't have lost. But I think it's more of them just kind of sitting there while teams fall rather than them doing anything.
Yeah, I think the Shreds, I think the Shred have looked great, and I vote for them to be over the Hustle just to reward them being 6-0 right now. As for the Shred and the Summit, it's really just that the Shred lost all 3 games to the Summit last year.
Fair.
And like, what's it called? The Summit posted something on their Instagram this week about like how like they have a huge rivalry, or like how a big rivalry starts or whatever. And like I think it was today, the Shred posted like big game on Friday, but it's not a rivalry. Like we have to prove ourselves because we lost all 3. So like the Shred know like they think they can win this game, but they know they haven't done anything yet to prove that they're better than the Summit.
Yeah.
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 No, I think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair. I think they've looked great and they've played I think their first win against the Spiders didn't put them in A tier because we didn't really know what the Spiders were. But this second one for sure made me feel like they've looked like the Shred have looked like the same team throughout this, and the Spiders have just continued to impress me. And I mean, no, I agree. I mean, I don't think that the Shred deserve to be higher than the Summit. And I looked at a bunch of stats between the two of them just to look at like how they've played against, mostly just like the rest of the division. And like they're super comparable. They're like first, second, third, and fourth in like almost all of the offensive stats. And then when it comes to defensive stats, the Summit have the better stats, and people are just scoring less in and against Denver. And I think the Summit O line was better at getting the disc back than the Shred O line was after a turnover. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I totally agree. Summit going 3-0 last year, that's enough. But I don't know. Shred looked good. Also have some good wins, but I don't know. Shredder 6-0.
Yeah. I think I'm okay with where they're at in A tier. We'll know a lot. We'll have a lot more information once they play the Summit next week. That's just kind of how I feel. But like giving them the nod, they're undefeated. They deserve to be in A tier.
Sam, what do you think? It sounds like Joe and I want to put them above the Hustle.
Oh
no, I think they should stay there.
yeah.
I think the Hustle are really good, and just because they haven't really done anything the last few weeks, like I don't think they should be sliding for any reason. And like I'm still waiting on the Shred to play to see what they look like against the Summit before I start messing around with all these teams, because like I think the Hustle are very real.
Cool.
Yeah, agreed. I think this B tier looks good to me. Maybe is Union top of C or lower in C, or like what do we think?
I don't think that Minnesota's that much better than Chicago.
Yeah, they just beat them pretty handily.
Hey, but Union beat them a week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a weak Minnesota, but yeah, still.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair.
I guess Indy beat Chicago, but Indy lost to Minnesota. That's tough. What if we just leap over them with the Spiders? Is that bad?
My
think
only
that's
one
okay.
that like thinks these B and C tier teams like are all meh. Like they
Very
blend
similar.
together. Like they all could beat each other. They all could lose to each other.
Yeah.
Do we give even though the Growlers lost, do we give them the nod because we think they're
Yeah.
I think they're better than Pitts. I just don't like when I look at D tier, I'm like, there's a clear difference between Growlers and the other three teams.
Yeah, I think they should be like neck and neck with the Aviators based on that game.
Okay.
And like similar results, I feel like, across similar opponents.
I've got the Glory above both California teams. Their only loss this year has been to Empire in a game that went to half. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish like we got that full game in good weather because I want to know if the Glory can give it to the Empire and be a close game, or if they just get fucking rocked, And I don't think we got to see that yet.
Yeah, my gut tells me that they're not real, but I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
I think that they have shown us that they can be better than terrible teams. And I also don't think they're real. I don't know.
I think they're more real than I was giving them credit for going into the season. I don't think they're like beat Empire real. But I will be kind of watching them for the rest of the season because they are better than I thought they would be, and they've kind of taken care of business when they need to.
I'm very
decent team.
I'm really torn because like the Glory are not better than the Aviators. In reality,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think I
like
agree.
they beat
I don't
Philly,
know. I don't
but
know.
they beat shitty Philly.
Yeah,
And
Guys,
they dominated Toronto, who we think is bad, and they did not dominate the Montreal Royal, who we think are bad.
I don't know. I think we got some Aviators bias. Like, I think the Aviators are
Aviators
not
have been
that
a
good of
little
a
rough.
team.
Aviators have been a little bit rough.
I mean, it's the glory.
Let's
I
leave them
don't
where they're
know.
at. Let's leave them where they're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
I can
I just
I
think we're
can
gonna
leave
look
them
back
there.
at this decision and be like, that was wrong.
I think that's probably true, but that's also because I think the glory aren't real. But I mean, we'll
Fair.
see. Based on like what we've seen, I guess that is fair.
But what we've seen is not a dominant team. It's a team that was down by 7 to Philly, and just Philly turned it over in front of the end zone so many times.
But what have we seen from the Aviators? They beat like the bad teams in Nitro and they lose to the good teams in A tier. Like, and they have a close game with the Growlers. Like, we haven't really seen anything dominant out of the Aviators, but you're asking for dominance out of the Glory. Like,
I'm not asking for dominance out of the glory. I'm just saying that their gameplay has not looked that good. Like,
I would
the
argue the same about
Aviators,
the Aviators.
I think the Aviators look inefficient, but I think a lot of their players have looked pretty good. I think losing to the Summit by 3 is pretty good.
Yeah, I do. Part of me does think that we're gonna see a similar like what we have with Minnesota, Indy, Chicago. We're gonna see with Oakland, LA, and San Diego, like kind of muddling amongst each other for that third spot.
Mm.
I think it's tough to say with like the results we've gotten because they've had very different schedules, but part of me thinks they're all kind of like together or will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, results have been weird and I think it's fine as is.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks that, neither the Glory haven't really played a very good team for an entire game, and the Aviators haven't really gotten the chance to show their full talent yet, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's just the Aviators' fault for playing like Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Madison, Pittsburgh? Should we flip flop?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. I think Madison looked way better.
Long overdue.
This weekend?
Yeah, Seattle clapped the Nitro, so I think we should just flip them.
Sounds great.
I think, again, this is really nitpicky, but I think Royale are a little bit better than the Havoc.
I was also thinking that.
Cool.
That's fair with me.
Yeah, this was like a pretty close game, which is a little concerning, but
I can't believe you guys convinced me not to take Dallas last week. I was like, I think I'm going to take Dallas, and you guys are like, no, don't do that.
You can't blame us.
Did I
We're
take
your
Dallas?
opponents.
Yeah,
Probably.
you did. You took Dallas.
How crazy if
great.
I win this week?
That would not be crazy at all. We
you
are
might.
so stupid.
I read Lepler's highlights of the week, and he said that Seattle had their first road victory since 2019.
Wow.
Damn.
Good for them.
Against a skeleton crew from Portland, because Rafi was at Beach Worlds and Leandro Marx was sitting on his ass again. I don't know. Anyway, that's a tier list.
Yeah, that's a tier list.
I'm open. Blah, 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 blah.